I would challenge the stereotype and then kind of go in and embody that stereotype and use it to my advantage.
Maybe someday I could be an extra on MASH.
There was a way to acknowledge that there was a lot of racism against Asian Americans, but there was also an understanding like, well, I can do those jokes too, and I could actually do them better because I have a better take on it. My family came to the United States in 1964 from Korea. They decided to settle in San Francisco in 1968. They had me. They bought a gay bookstore in the 70s, which was very unusual for them, for any immigrants to do, I guess. So I grew up at the bookstore. It was called Paperback Traffic. It was this kind of place where there was a lot of community events. A lot of artists worked there showing their art and getting tattooed, and a lot of people did drag. Everything changed because of AIDS. A lot of the employees died. A lot of the people that I grew up with died. It was an incredibly devastating thing to watch the community fading away before our eyes. There were all of these organizations popping up, different kinds of AIDS activism. That's what made me want to start doing comedy, because there was a need for people to come and do performance. There was a need for people to come and speak, and there was a need to have a voice. I was probably about 14 when I first started performing, and a lot of my first shows were at AIDS fundraising events. I was pretty successful right away. My family didn't really understand it, but I really loved it.
I grow up on the rice paddy.
There was this idea amongst other Asian American comics that I was around that we're not going to talk about our families. We're not going to talk about their Asianness because we want to be judged as comics, not as Asian comics.
I walk past this guy and he goes, "Me so horny."
But I never saw the value in that, so that set me apart, as I was not afraid to go into areas that were a little bit combative. I remember just seeing so many Asian driver jokes in a night. So then I would go on stage and say, "My name is Margaret Cho and I drive very well." It would just do really well because people would be like so embarrassed that they'd been laughing about these racist jokes all night. And then an acknowledgement that, yeah, that's what happened.
I had sex with a woman on the ship.
You get to a point in your minority status where you do become unassailable.
Am I gay? Am I straight? And I realized I'm just slutty.
Especially for me, because I'm queer, I'm a woman of color, somebody that is normally perceived as policing all the things that people say, whether it's racist or sexist or homophobic. You can go to a more outrageous place because of your identity. It was so outside of my world. I didn't know how to write jokes for TV. I didn't know how to write jokes for sitcoms. Because this was an ethnic minority, there was this idea that we're being so outlaw by featuring these people who are never on TV that we've got to be incredibly conservative in the way we do it. I knew that certain things weren't right and that I should take over to some extent, but I wasn't empowered enough to do that. The television people were looking at me at camera and they were really horrified. They said, "We have to do something about the size of your face. You have to lose weight or else we can't have this show on television." Like, it was so alarmed that I was too fat to play the role of myself. So I just stopped eating. I remember becoming very sick. I was urinating blood. The whole time I was just scared that I wasn't gonna lose enough weight. That to me was much more important than my health. I wanted to keep this job. I felt incredible loss and that I had failed and that I kind of couldn't go anywhere beyond that. Where I was drinking too much. At some point, I realized I can't live like this. I had cleaned up, I was gonna try to be healthy and try to enjoy comedy again.
I am not gonna die because I failed as someone else. I'm gonna succeed as myself, and I'm gonna stay here and rock the mic until the next Korean American, fag hag, shit starter, girl comic, trash talker comes up and takes my place.
The story of what happened to me in television gave me a framework to hang my stand-up comedy on. Now I had more of a purpose, maybe prevent other people from going through these really dark insecure moments by saying, well, this is what happened and I survived it. No matter what happens, I don't have any insecurities that are big enough to stop me from satisfying the goal of doing comedy.